So after I have my pocket dots marked and I cut another pocket because I'm going to have two of the side pockets, those two pieces are completely marked. I don't have to do anything else with them except the tape thing, which we will do in a minute. But I need to mark the other dots and lines that we'll need for our particular pattern. I did not, remember on this side, I did not cut off for the low rise, so I am going to mark the medium dots on the sides. This happens to be the back piece. And since I need to take some of the pins out anyway, I'm just taking the pins from right here at the side out. Remember, don't repin it after you get done because then I can't see what you did. And the pencil worked best for me, but you use which one works best on your fabric. We're going to fold this back, and I'm going to make a tiny, tiny mark right where the pin is going through the fabric. I'm going to lift the whole thing up and flip it over, and again make a tiny mark, just enough that you can see it on the back fabric. And this should always be on the wrong side of the fabric. Never mark on the front of the fabric with a pencil. Chalk is okay, but not with a pencil. It won't come out. So then I'm going to do the other dot. And I'm going to do the other dot. Now remember, if you're going to do the low rise, you're going to move down a dot. And so if I were doing a medium with a low rise, I would move down and mark the small dots. But I'm not going to use the low rise. I'm using the regular rise, so I'm going to do the medium ones. Okay? The back is all marked at this point except for the tape. And we'll do that in a sec. Again, I have dots on the side over here, and I am going to go ahead and mark the medium dots. And you do need to make sure that you mark all of these because this tells us where the pocket is attached to the side if you're doing those in the side seams. If you are not doing an inside the seam pocket, you don't have to mark these. But if you are, you have to mark them so you know where to attach your pocket. So I'm going to lift up, little tiny dot, lift again, little tiny dot, little tiny dot, and the little tiny dot, okay? So I have all of those dots marked. The last two dots that I have to mark on here are for the fly. And what they do for us is to tell us where we are going to start and stop sewing when we are making this fake fly. So again, I'm going to take my pins and put it through the dot at the bottom one. Remember, these are the medium ones. And the top dot that I need. And then get my pins out of the way because I got to be able to lift my pattern up to get underneath there. Oh, one more. Little tiny dot, flip it over, little tiny dot, because we're going to match these whenever we make our front seam. Little tiny dot. Okay, right there. My hand was probably in the way. And then I'm going to lift that over and a little tiny dot there. Please, after you have marked these, take these pins out because if I come over to check your stuff, you're going to be stabbing me with those pins. So if you notice, there's a little tiny dot right here and right here. Those are going to be the seam line dots. But I have one more thing I have to mark on the front if I'm doing the fake fly. Again, if I'm not doing a fake fly, I don't have to mark any of these dots on the front. They don't make any difference to what we are doing. But with the fake fly, you absolutely have to mark those two dots, all right? So I need to mark this line right here. And I don't want it to show on the outside. I can't use chalk. I can't see through there. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use tracing paper and a tracing wheel. And earlier we talked about sewing equipment, and we talked about this. This was one of the things that was on your list of equipment, but we did not use it before. And I have a couple of different colors, pink and green and kind of yellow, and you're going to pick the one that shows up the best for you. I think I'm going to try the pink. So this is the wrong side of my fabric. I am going to put the paper down, and this is just on a scrap. You always want to check this before you start doing it, and then just go forward once. You press hard, but you go forward once. You're not digging into it. This is not pizza that we're cutting back and forth, just once forward. And I can kind of see that, but not so well, so I think I'm going to try the green instead. And I'm just going to get a little different piece of my scrap. And you need to use the scrap, a scrap of your own fabric. Don't do it on something else, because it might show up on something else, but it won't show on your pattern when you need it. Okay, so again, I'm pressing down and I'm pushing. And the green actually showed up a little bit better for me. So that's the one I'm going to use. This is the line right here that I am going to mark. And I need to mark it on the wrong side. You don't ever want this stuff on the right side of your fabric because it may not come out without a lot of scrubbing, or it may not come out at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the paper up, and I am going to put it on this part of the fabric right here. So I need to slide it underneath just that one layer of fabric, and I want it to be where it's face down, so the colored side is down. Don't put it face up, it'll mark the pattern, not your fabric. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn this because it's going to be a little bit easier for me to move that way rather than to go sideways. My arm's going to work a little bit better. But I want to make sure that the paper is under the whole line. And I'm going to keep my hand on here because I don't want my pattern to shift around while I'm doing this. So I'm going to start at the top of the line, and I'm going to press hard, and I'm only going once. I'm not going to go back and forth because if I do that, I'll end up tearing the paper. So I'm pressing hard, pretty hard, and I'm going to come all the way down till I get to the dot. Now I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to check, and it's there. It's kind of light, but I can see that well enough so that when I am doing my project, I have to baste along that by hand. So that should be fine for that particular thing. All right, the last step that you have to do is take a piece of masking tape and put it on every single piece of fabric. And that's what we're going to do next.